Hi everyone. On Friday, we went over the Trojan War, and I just want you to take those notes back out so we can fill out those two charts that are on the back and at the bottom. So before we get started, I would like you to really please listen to me while I'm going over this information so you get kind of like two ways of learning the stuff by listening and also by visual and writing the text down. So if you need headphones, you can find some at the front of the room. So the first chart is just to help us organize, because there are a lot of characters on help us organize who is on which side for the Trojan War. So on the Greek side, we've got Menelaus. Menelaus is the reason why the war got started. His wife was stolen by Paris, and he is calling all of his friends to fight Paris and where Paris is from, which is Troy. Paris is the Prince of Troy. Odysseus and Achilles, despite not wanting to join the war, they did eventually. We've got Agamemnon, who is the brother of Menelaus. We have Patroclus, who is Achilles' best friend, and then we also have Ajax, Diomed. Ajax was the one who sort of killed himself after losing to Odysseus over the armor of Achilles. Then we also have Nestor. He comes up a little bit in the Odyssey. He is older than the rest of them, and he's sort of kind of like a wise counselor, a mentor of sorts. On the Trojan side, it's very important to see that Aphrodite as a goddess really entrenches herself onto this side because she was the reason why Paris decided to kidnap Helen by offering him the most beautiful mortal women in the world. We've got Hector, who is Paris's half-brother. We've got Priam, who is the king of Troy, father of Paris and Hector. Aeneas, who is the only person who survives from the Trojan side. And then we also have Deiphobus and Sarpedon. Zeus, during the entire Trojan War, is sort of stuck in the middle because he is, of course, the father of Helen, but at the same time, he is also sort of not wanting to interfere as much as, Aphrodite does. So he really tries to balance out between the two sides because, he's got girls on both sides. You might say it that way. All right, the next chart I want you to draw is the Greek family tree. You're gonna really have to squeeze things into that little box that I give you in the notes. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. So first of all, we start off with before Helen was born, there was a girl named Leda who was the most beautiful mortal woman in the world. She's so beautiful that Zeus decided to seduce her, even though she was already married to the king of Sparta, Tyndareus. So Leda was seduced by Zeus, but in a very interesting way. So Zeus transformed himself into a swan, and Leda fell in love with the swan. They did consummate, and they had children. But at the same time, she was pregnant with Tyndareus' seed. So she was really giving birth at the same time to four children, and it was very abnormal because since she consummated with a swan, they came out of eggs instead of being birthed from her body. So she hatched them like eggs, and it was kind of confusing because they were all in her womb at the same time. It's hard to discern which seed belongs to which dad, but we can sort of guess that Helen is probably one of Zeus's children because she is so beautiful as well. So get a little bit of that immortal beauty. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, Agamemnon and Menelaus are actually brothers. So it's not really weird. It's just one set of brothers from one family decided to marry the sisters of a different family. Okay, so they marry into this rich Spartan family. Menelaus got Helen, who's known to be a lot prettier than Clytemnestra, which kind of sucks for Clytemnestra. Um, Clytemnestra and Agamemnon had two children, Iphigenia and Orestes. So when Iphigenia was younger, Agamemnon was out hunting one day in the woods, and he comes across this bunny, and he decides to kill it. He's a hunter. He decides to kill this bunny. And then he, by killing the bunny, incurred the wrath of the goddess Artemis, who is kind of the protector of the woods. And the bunny is a spirit belonging to her. Because of this, Agamemnon's family suffered troubles until he was willing to sacrifice his own daughter, Iphigenia, to Artemis to replace the bunny that he killed. So he had to kill his own daughter. And then when Agamemnon went off to war with Menelaus, and here I'm talking about the Trojan War, he was gone for 10 years. When he came back from the war, he was killed by Clytemnestra and her lover, Aegisthus. All right. So while Agamemnon was off at war, Clytemnestra was cheating on him. And with her lover, they plotted to kill Agamemnon so they could take over kind of the riches from that side of the family. And then Agamemnon being dead, Orestes, when he grew up, the son of Agamemnon, when he grew up, he becomes vengeful. He wants to avenge his father's death. So he goes back to kill Aegisthus. And this is a very unique story that comes up over and over again in the Odyssey to compare how unfaithful Clytemnestra is versus how faithful Penelope is. Penelope, who is the wife of Odysseus. So I'm going to stop this video and I'll start another video to give you the notes on the introduction to the Odyssey.